no matter what age you are, you have something you want to do, you have something on your mind, even if you think you just want to test it out. Who gives a fuck what anyone else thinks? They could go fuck themselves. Do your thing. Who knows? Every single human has great potential in this world. And I believe God gave every single person, you know, a certain thing they could reach. So you might as well go all out, try to find that passion, try to find that purpose.
You are now tuning in to the Roughnecks Podcast with your host, Cole Nixon. Much love.
What's up, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. I'm your host, Cole Nixon, and my goal of this podcast is to bring on leaders in the world of athletics, coaching, entrepreneurship, and just life in general to try and motivate us all to be better. We shouldn't strive to be millionaires in terms of money, but by the millions of lives that we can impact. If you want to be a guest or have a guest idea that you would like to hear from, then shoot me an email at roughneckspodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review if you like this episode. Then head over to our social media and give us a follow on Instagram at Roughnecks Podcast, Twitter at Roughnecks Pod C1, Facebook at Roughnecks Podcast. And then don't forget to subscribe to the Roughnecks YouTube channel as well. As always, be sure to grab the bull by the horns and take control of your life. Let's get into this week's episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Roughnecks Podcast. I know I said we were going to have a double episode last week, but that's my fault that didn't happen, so I apologize on that. Didn't get a double episode week last week, but we got a double episode week this week. This episode is Thursday's episode already, so I didn't say in Monday's episode that it was going to be a double episode week, so this is a little bit of a surprise. You're welcome. But today, I got a friend of mine from college, another Ohio Wesleyan battling bishop. Once again, I've had a lot of them on here. He's going to be a good guest. This whole month, I've had some sweet guests, and I have another one after this. Also, joining me today for episode 44 is a younger generation battling bishop from Ohio Wesleyan, Sam Heyer. Welcome to the Roughnecks Podcast, my guy.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we've been working on getting it on. Our schedules have not quite worked out. That is the hardest part about being a side podcaster. And you, as you know, you don't have to have people in your videos, but it's when you have to not necessarily rely on other people, but it gets a little difficult to work out schedules. But I haven't known you. I haven't even known you a year yet at this point. But I'm going to start off this episode by saying you're the type of person that grinds their ass off. That's why I'm excited to have you on to discuss our topic this month. But before we get into that and all that, I want to let you give a background on yourself and tell the Roughnecks listeners who you are.
Yeah, perfect. I'm Sam Heyer. I'm going to be a sophomore next year at Ohio Wesleyan. Obviously, I play football. That's how I know Cole. I'm from like a couple of minutes outside Chicago. And I'm a film major, so I also have a YouTube channel. And like in my spare time, I enjoy like filming stuff, writing scripts, stuff like that.
So the first one I always ask all my Ohio Wesleyan guys this is why OU? Because you came from, a whole other state. That's what I always love to hear too, is the ones from different states. Because like for me, I was 45 minutes away, close enough to home, but far enough away from home, still at home. So it was kind of nice. But why did you decide to go to Ohio Wesleyan?
Yeah, it was pretty random. I visited OU twice. And the second time I went in, I was just like, this is probably out of all the places I've looked at, my favorite. So I just ended up committing like a couple days after.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, I can tell you that the football team is glad to have you, because I remember, seeing you because we didn't play in the fall, and you lifted like right across from me from the very jump. And then all of a sudden I'm looking, damn, this kid's working his ass off. And I'm like, I almost feel like I need to work harder because, I had that whole senior year thing. But then I watched you learn and grow, learn and grow and learn the defense and like kind of start to understand all our concepts and stuff. And I remember looking at Teddy one night when we were hanging out, which we weren't supposed to. Whatever. We were hanging out, and I looked at him. I said, "Hey, Sam Hire is going to be a 2 to 3 year starter. I can almost guarantee it." And you're going to be very beneficial to that defense. So just keep doing what you're doing. I can tell you that you're doing a great job, and you got one of the best coaches to learn from on that defense. So you got a lot of potential in that.
Much appreciated.
The biggest thing's that weight room, though, but you have no problem being in that weight room.
No, yeah.
How many times a week do you work out right now?
Every day.
Oh,
My philosophy is I don't have built-in rest days. If I need to take a rest day, I'll take the rest day, but I don't want to, waste a day where, I'm feeling good and I could go lift. And then at the same time, I don't want to force myself to lift if there's a day I'm not feeling 100%.
I mean, that's smart. That makes sense. I'm not all into that kind of stuff like I used to be, but I thought I knew what I was doing and I had no freaking clue. I just was in high school, I'm gonna go to the gym 6 times a day because it makes me big. I don't know, but yeah, I mean that could be taken too, like with a lot of different things, not just the gym. That's what I like about that is like you should strive to grind at something every single day. And then, be on the aware that you can take a rest day. Now, don't take advantage of those rest days. That's where I think people struggle. So I want to ask you real quick about that. Like, how do you not like take advantage of that and be like, oh, I can take a rest day? Because once you take one and then you take another, it's like all of a sudden it becomes that habit. It's a lot easier to take a rest day than it is to get your ass to go to the gym.
I'm at the point where it honestly is hard to take a rest day because I'm so motivated, for my goals. I've been lifting all my life, but it was my junior year. We had a really bad high school football season, and that's what motivated me to take the next step. So from that point, I was just so motivated. I'd always think about you got the season coming up in like this amount of days. I've just still kept that kind of hunger and motivation. I obviously think it helps when you have something like football. Like that's a goal to reach towards, and it's a lot easier when you're thinking, all right, I have this season coming up, so I got to grind for this. But I take a rest day, and it's kind of like what I'm even gonna do because I love being in the gym. It's become like a second home. So you gotta fall in love with it, really.
Yeah, and like you said, when you have something to strive for, because I could tell you that once the season ended and I felt like I had no obligation to go to the gym, it's real quick that if you don't keep up with it, you drop off. Because I'm struggling to get back into it. I'm working my way to get really back into it. Last week, I made it, what did I make it? 4 days in a row, I worked out, which was good for me from what I've been doing. But then, Friday came and beers were calling my name, and so it was just also a really long day. But I'm making excuses. That's the other thing. People make a crap load of excuses. You could make an excuse every single day for why you don't need to go to the gym. Like you could sit there and say, I already worked out 6 times this week. Why do I need to go now? But those excuses are what deter your habits. And that's the big thing that I think people struggle with is they always find a reason, they always make an excuse for why they didn't do something. And then that excuse becomes your habit.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I got to ask about it. The hair. You got the long hair. I just got to say this as I just cut my mullet and lost all my long hair forever, probably forever, considering I had long hair for the past 6 years. So it was deeply saddening to watch my long hair go. But just saying, I think you should do a mullet for your senior year. It'll look great. You're a linebacker. You fit the profile. Yeah, just saying. Give it an idea. But I got to ask about the blue in the hair. Where'd that come from?
That was just, I kind of thought I like the color blue. I might as well throw it in my hair. I might do red though for this upcoming season. A nice oboe red, kind of blend with the uniform.
There you go.
But I feel like you might as well. You got to be an individual. Who cares if someone says something or, you got to do what you want to do and just if you want to look a certain way, you might as well, get a tattoo, get a piercing, do your hair a certain way, whatever you want.
That's the thing. It doesn't matter. I think too many people today, and I've been seeing a lot of like motivational like quotes and stuff about this topic for some reason. Like too many people worry about what other people think.
Yeah.
What you think of me doesn't get like I don't give a shit. What the like a person walking down the street, who cares what they think as I walk by if they don't like the way I look or how I act? Because I look at it like I remember in high school when I first had my long hair for basketball, I wore it in a ponytail, which now I'll tell you, my mom was not happy with it, but I wore it in a ponytail. Dude, those student sections when I was warming up, oh man, I was getting harassed. But you learn like, you know what? Who gives a shit? Like they're just gonna give you crap because that's what student sections are supposed to do. But like I think too many people worry way too much about what other people think because guess what? When you wake up tomorrow, that thought of them or their thought of you is not gonna like control your day. It's not gonna be how you are, who you are. So I respect the blue. I respect like what you just said. Like be who you want to be. That's the biggest thing. But the big thing I wanted to talk about in this episode was the YouTube channel. What is the YouTube channel? What is your name? Is it Showtime? Is that what you call it, or does it have a specific?
Yeah. The Real Showtime, all one word. And that was a nickname I actually got by a coach in 8th grade.
Okay, I need that story first.
Yeah. Because that's a nickname for Patrick Kane. And obviously me being from Chicago, I had like the long hair, and so did Patrick Kane. So it kind of, went hand in hand. And then he gave me the nickname, and then it just kind of stuck. Because then, kids from the team would be calling me that from school, and then eventually it like got to the point where teachers would be calling me it, and then it just became my name.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's crazy what like sports can change your name. Because I mean,
For sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I hardly ever got called Cole in high school and stuff. Like it was always Nix or Nixon. Like I mean, that's a normal last name, but like you got a whole different name. But like,
Yeah.
we got people on the team that I almost forgot their real name because of the fact that like we called them their nickname just for so long. Like Tall Meat.
Yeah.
Literally, the one
sure.
day I was sitting there and I looked at Teddy and I went, "All right, this sounds dumb, but what is his real name?" And he kind of looked at me for a second, and because he almost forgot for a second, then he was like, "Oh, Jordan Taylor." I was like, "Oh, yeah." But like, it's crazy what sports can do with your name. But you started the YouTube channel because I remember, I had the podcast in the fall. We were walking upstairs from Edwards one day, and you looked at me and you went, "I'm thinking about." We were talking about the podcast. And you're like, "I'm thinking about starting a YouTube channel." And I remember saying, "YouTube sucks," and here I am making YouTube videos. Which I still stand by that. As you probably know, like editing and everything, it just can be a pain in the butt sometimes, especially when you're trying to get an episode out by a certain time. But so just kind of take me through the decision of like why you decided to eventually do it. I mean, obviously you have the film, like you're into that kind of stuff, but what ultimately like decided it for you?
Well, a couple things. So for a couple of years, I was kind of thinking like, I kind of want to start like a fitness YouTube, but more than just fitness, I want to throw like my personality in there, kind of show people who I am, have fun, do comedy, all that stuff. Just anything I want, I could put out in there. But, in my mind, I was kind of like, oh, what are people going to say? Do I have a good enough physique yet? Like, all that. And eventually it just came to the point where on winter break, I was kind of just sitting home and I was like, why not? Who cares? Who cares what people think? If this is something I want to do, why wouldn't I just do it?
Exactly. And I'm going to put that out to any content creators because, I sat there with the podcast because my first podcast didn't work out. Me and Teddy had one before we started this one. It didn't work out. It was terrible. It really was just awful. And I questioned like, should I start another one? Do people even want to listen to it? Does it even like, is it interesting? Blah, blah, blah. Or like, what do I do? What do I name it? All these questions, just go for it. I mean, take your time and kind of like figure out the details of it, like your name, your color scheme. Cause like there's a lot of things that I wish I would have kind of looked into a little more looking back, but just go for it. if you want to create content, you want to make a YouTube channel, making makeup, doing your makeup or whatever, like whatever you want to do, just do it, because that's the biggest step right there, is taking that first step and just doing it. And no, your first video, your first episode, whatever it is, it's probably going to be terrible.
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
probably going to be terrible, because I don't know why people still listen to the first episode of this podcast, but it is me and Teddy sitting on the couch, no microphones, saying a lot of things we probably shouldn't have said. But like it's okay for that. Like that, just you have room to grow, because I look at, do you know who Carter Franklin is?
I do not.
He makes videos now for Miles Garrett. He's like
Oh
Miles.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he went to Ohio Wesleyan, played baseball. He was on the podcast and he goes, yeah, I look back at like my stuff that I used to make he made for the football team my junior year. He's like, that was trash. I was like, we thought it was sweet. Like, and he was like, but just like to look at what he's doing now, and just, but that's the other thing you need to understand. That first video, first episode, whatever it is, it's going to be bad. Just accept that and go with it. It's okay.
Yeah. Looking back at my first video, like sometimes for fun, I'll kind of go back and like look at the first couple, even in the past few months. The progress I've made is absolutely insane. Looking back, I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. And looking now, it's like, oh yeah, it was actually kind of a good video I just put out.
Yeah, like that's the thing though. You got to take each episode and you're going to learn from it. And you're going to learn from other people's videos that you watch and stuff. But like the big thing is like you are going to learn from each video that you make, because you're going to look back and be like, I don't like that. And then now the rest of your videos, like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But you incorporated, I like how you said you incorporate your personality into it. You definitely do that. You don't hold back. You strip your shirt every workout.
Yeah.
Why? Is that just your personality? What is that for?
Well, I don't want to be too overconfident here, but I do want to show off my physique. I have it, might as well show it off. And also, yeah, I think it is, funny, and obviously it is a fitness page. So if you're coming there, you probably want to see, some nice contractions, stuff like that. But
yeah, and people
to get
like
that energy going.
If you're watching a YouTube video on fitness, like more than likely you're like into fitness. Like you're actually like into it. You're not just like some no name, like, I'm just gonna look up this. Like they're gonna like you're gonna be into it and wanna like they do appreciate it more. So what are your goals of this YouTube channel? Like where do you want to see it go?
Well, now with the big NCAA letting athletes get paid, I need to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark, and then I could start making money. That would be sweet. But also, building up kind of like a community and like a base, kind of like a little cult. And then from there, just talking with them, interacting. That's really what I want. I think I want like a community I could really like interact with and share stuff with. People come to me with questions, stuff like that.
Have you ever thought about like setting up more platforms? Like I know you use your personal Instagram for it. Have you ever like thought of taking it in a whole different direction and almost not completely rebranding it, but reshaping it to where like you have your personal here and your business side of things over here? Have you considered that, or are you just going to stick with the personal route?
I did think of that, but then I was kind of like, I want it to be such a part of me. The personal might as well just be, like the real Showtime, because I want them to be, one and the same.
Yeah, and I can tell you, once you do go that opposite direction, it just creates so much more work. Because like when I post this podcast, I go through and I got to post it on Instagram, the podcast Instagram, podcast Twitter, podcast Facebook. Then I go through and like share it with my personal, and then it's just, you got so much work you got to do. It is.
Yeah.
Luckily, we may have someone else starting to run the Roughnecks social media. That may have just happened this morning. So hopefully that does come true, because that'll save me a lot of time. It's hard to do anything when you get off work at freaking whatever time. So as a content creator, what would you say, like as a video content creator, what would you say is the hardest thing to handle, like when you're starting out, or even now as far as you are into it? Like what's the hardest thing, for like a little advice for someone who's considering making videos?
Here's definitely the hardest thing, and here was the hardest thing starting, is filming in public. because people are obviously going to look at you and say, what the hell is this guy doing? Why does he have a camera? Why is he screaming? Why is he half naked? But you just got to learn, push that aside. Who cares? You're never going to see this guy again. This is for, the people who are going to watch the video. And if he's so interested, maybe he comes over and you say, hey, check me out, The Real Showtime. Look it up on YouTube, subscribe.
That's the thing is like, I used to worry so much. And like, I've considered doing almost like mini vlogs, and it's mainly for the TikTok, but like I was considering it, but then I'd get to the point where I'm like, I don't want people to see me recording. Like, I don't, it's weird. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get to that point, like we've talked about, once you get to that point of who gives a shit what people think of you, it's going to become 10 times easier. So what was that first time like when you were recording? You were at school, right? When you were first recorded, or was the first video? Yeah. What was that first time like when you recorded in public? Did you have a bunch of people in the gym just staring at you?
Yeah. And I think I felt that way for probably, like the first 10 videos or so, where it's just kind of like, this is a little weird. I got people looking at me. Do I need to like explain what I'm doing to them? And then eventually it was, my most recent series I'm currently putting out right now is like a video where I'm in Colorado, and I'm at the point now where it's just I'm gonna do whatever I want as if no one was around me.
Well, the thing is how many people, like you look at it, how many people have vlogs that they're out in public recording? You just may not see it, but it happens every single day all across
Yeah.
the country. And it's becoming like YouTube, like social media, it's becoming a new normal for our generation because I mean, we were pretty much brought up on social media.
Yeah.
So like, don't be afraid. And like we've said, take that step. Just go take that step. What can we expect from your YouTube channel in the future? Because I know you're doing your series right now that you're putting out, but like after that, what can we expect?
I do want to do some football content when I get back to school, like kind of maybe like a day in the life of a summer camp, like game day vlog, stuff like that, kind of, showing people the life of a college football player.
I think I like that idea because I don't think people understand, especially like camp. Camp would be a really good one. I don't think people understand like what you haven't even experienced camp yet.
No.
Oh, I forgot about that. You have not experienced true camp yet. Oh, just wait. It's fun. I mean, luckily it's only one practice a day and they got rid of 2 days before my freshman year. But I mean, dude, it is waking up all day and then you just go to bed and you wake up and do the exact same thing the next day. It is, your legs are going to hurt. You might not be working out 7 days a week anymore, but camp is a good time. And I think that's a good idea of doing that because it kind of shows, I don't think people truly appreciate college athletes in a way. Like, all they see is Saturdays. They see us playing on Saturdays and they think, I think some people think it's easy other than people that have played football. When you have to experience that dreadful summer camp when it's 95 degrees on the turf or 95 degrees, and then you're on the turf, so it's even hotter. You're out there at midday practicing, sweating your ass off. And then, oh, by the way, practice is over, go shower, eat dinner, come back. We got film, we got meetings. And then, 9, 10 o'clock rolls around. All right, you guys can go back to your room. All right, now let's go to bed, wake up at 6, 7 a.m. the next day and redo everything. I think that would be a really cool series just to go through like a few days of what camp's actually like. And then, because we don't have off days, we're practicing on Sundays until school starts. So I really think that would be a good idea to do that. And the game day vlog, that may be difficult, but it'd also be kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think people truly understand though how tough of a sport football is. Because obviously growing up, I did all the sports. Nothing's as tough as football. And I think maybe that's why it attracts a certain type of person who like enjoys that grind. Like, it's gonna suck. You're gonna have, nights where you're kind of like, I don't know how much more it can handle.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the fun of it. You go through a season, you're gonna have injuries, maybe minor, maybe major. And it's just, how do you battle through?
Well, football, I've talked a lot on this podcast, sports in general, but a lot like as football guys here, we know like it can teach you so much and prepare you for life in ways that you don't understand, that you won't, like, you're a little younger than me. I'm telling you, like, because at that point in my career, like I didn't even like certain things like Watts would say or certain things would come up, and it just like, you don't think anything of it. And then you get out after graduation and like this and this and this happened, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, like this football really prepared me for like some of this real life stuff that's happening to me. It's crazy what sports can do. That's why I highly recommend for like as young kids, like I'm not saying football, I'm not saying, and like you said, you played all the sports growing up. I think that is the best thing for kids. Play every sport. I played soccer as a kid. I hate soccer now, but I played soccer. I played baseball, basketball, football, track. Like I did all these sports. But yeah, you're going to find that one sport. Either you're not going to like any of the sports, or you're going to find that one sport that truly is like your love. And it does take a special kind of person for football, because not everybody can play football. And here's my thing too. Not everybody can play football, and not everybody can play college football, because even at the D3 level, it is a whole different game. My class came in with like 60, 80 some players or whatever. And you saw how many of us were left. There wasn't that many of us left, because it's a whole different style. One, people aren't going to get the playing time they want, but you have to understand, like you're not just going to come in and start. I think too many people have that, oh, we were all studs in high school. We were all good in high school. There's a reason that we're going to play college football, but you're not just going to come in and start over these people who have been playing for 3 years and know the defense, because it is a whole different game once you get to college.
Yeah, for sure. But I think coming in, I was kind of like, oh, played Chicago football. I was from a school of over 4,000. Yeah, I'm going up against, country kids. And then you meet someone like Shane Quinn. It's like, this guy can throw me through a wall.
Psycho Shane. Yeah. Just don't be the next Shane. Playing wise, yes, but mentally, I don't know. I'm just kidding. No, Shane was on a few episodes ago. He put out a good episode. Shane's a good guy. Awesome episode. But we're going to take a quick break real quick, and then we will be right back, and we will continue with our topic this month of focus. All right, we are back. So first, I was thinking about while we were on this little break, while I was getting some more coffee, what camera do you use to record? Do you have the same camera that you started with, or do you have a new one now?
No, I currently use the Lumix, and I started actually on my phone.
I think a lot of people do that. Like, and it's okay to do that. Like we've talked about, you got to learn and grow. Like you can't, if some people, like I started recording just through my laptop. Now I got a microphone, I got a light, I got the whole setup, but that came after like 30 some episodes. Like it doesn't come right away. I think too many people worry about like getting everything right away. Trust me, you don't want to buy stuff right away, because more than likely you're going to buy the wrong thing and you're going to end up upgrading it anyway.
Yeah.
So do you like the camera you have? Like, I guess we're giving like a review on your camera right now.
Absolutely love it. It's amazing. Some of the shots I've been able to get are like, it blows my mind. It's like, am I really the one shooting this? But I do think it's smart. If you're going to start up something, you don't want to buy all this stuff like instantly. Who knows if you'll even make it past the first episode.
Yeah.
You need to, I think it was my 7th episode when I first had the camera. So at that point, I kind of knew like, yeah, I'm going to continue with this, for a long time.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing too, they call it in podcasting, you have podcast burnout, where you get like, yeah, you enjoy it. You love doing it. Like I went through it. You love doing it. But then all of a sudden you're just like, I got to do an episode this week. I got to do this. Like you don't want to do it. Like, it's not that you don't want to do it. Like you don't enjoy doing it. It's just like, it just feels like more of a chore for sometimes. And, there's all kinds of things about getting through that podcast burnout. The biggest thing is just to like, just keep going. Don't quit. If you really if you did enjoy doing it, and like, just keep going, because eventually you'll get past that point where it feels like, you're going to drag. That's with anything, like football, like we've talked about. You're going to go through that spell where you're like, I really don't want to go lifting today. I don't want to go to meetings. I don't want to do this. Like, I just want to sit here. But you got to like push through and just keep going, because the rewards on the other side of that are better than if you just quit. Too many people today just quit at things, and that's, I think, one of the biggest problems in today's society.
Yeah, and especially when you quit, then, there's so much doubt and, you don't really find what you're looking for. Maybe you rest up for a little bit, but then immediately you're like, what I just do.
Yeah. So we have a new month and a new topic. We have not actually discussed the topic quite in detail this month, and there's been a reason for that. The guests that we've had are some were slightly different, but I want to talk about our topic this month of focus, because focus for you can go in a lot of different directions, which I want to tell the story behind these topics again, because it's been a while since I've done it. So if I have any new listeners who are listening, each month I do a new topic. January was inspiration, February was passion, March was mindset, April was commitment, May was adversity, June was toughness, and now we have focus in July. And the story behind like where these topics came from, you have a general understanding, I think, Sam, of the topic thing, because did we got a champions manual this year?
Yeah.
Yes. So we have the champions manual, which comes from the winners manual, which was Jim Tressel at Ohio State. Actually started it at Youngstown. He has a book on it. Once again, I highly recommend that book. Me and CJ actually discussed a little bit of, when he was talking about some things, he was talking about thankful. And I said, this sounds a lot like quiet time. He goes, oh, you know what that is? And I was like, yeah. But so it comes from Jim Tressel. Coach Watts knows him and is good, pretty close with him and stuff. But when you finally get to experience those camps though, and that meetings that we have, and, they help you, like I've already talked, they help you later in life, and they may seem dumb and silly at the time, because you're going to have teammates and coaches come up and talk every day about, focus, toughness, like these topics that I'm discussing on this podcast there. And, take that in, because I didn't realize it. You don't realize it till later, but once it like those things like help you, and they help push you along camp too, because, those times when you are dreading going to practice, or, your legs are tired and you don't want to do that squat, whatever it is, that little, it's almost like a motivational bump that kind of helps push you through that day. But I'm going to ask you some questions on topics or on focus. Why do you think it's so hard for people to focus, like truly focus on their craft, on, schoolwork in today's day and age?
I think it's because people are so, half in and half out. Yeah. When you're talking about focusing up on something, you can't be focused and have one foot out the door. I think, maybe there's a sense of self-entitlement in this current society we're living in, and you can't have an attitude of that of, I should be here, this should just be given to me. You got to really look deep down and think, what do I have to do to achieve this? Come up with a plan, set up some goals, and then attack it from there.
Yeah. So like half in, half out, that kind of the big thing too, that I look at, that half in, half out, I look at a lot of reasons I think people are half in, half out, like with little tasks, is their phone.
Oh, for sure.
The phone, like, because you got to think, like, you're doing homework and your phone's sitting right here beside you, and you're doing it and you're halfway through a sentence, and then somebody texts you. How many times do we all just like look at our phone and then we'll start finish that? Well, then your thought of that, your focus of that assignment is just completely taken away, and you have to come back, regain your thoughts, and reconsider. And then by then you might have already forgotten what you were going to say. I do that. I used to do that all the time, where I'd be in the middle of writing a paper and I'd have like something in my mind, get a text, look at it, not even answer it, just look at it, and then come back and be like, shit, what was I writing?
Yeah.
Because, that's the phone. I'm going to recommend to any student, put your phone up when you're doing homework. Like when you're doing, especially big homework, put your phone up. Like it takes a half hour of your day, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Put your phone up and it'll just truly focus on it. And then how would you recommend for someone to like improve that focus? I just mentioned the whole putting their phone up, but how would you recommend, like, how would you not be half in, half out? What do you do? Or what would you recommend for people to try to like be fully engaged or fully into something?
I think you need really specific goals and not just kind of like broad ones. I think it's good to kind of do like a tier system. Like you have broad goals, but then inside of that, it's how do I get to that? What do I need to do today specifically to help me, get one step closer? Coach Watts always talks about, getting better, get a little better each day. I think that's
Mhm.
so true. You want to go into a day and you want to say, okay, what am I going to do today that's going to help me improve right there? Because if you just go into a day kind of no plan, maybe I do this, who knows if it's going to get done? You have no accountability. You don't have anything drawn out saying, this is what I want to get done. So if at the end of the day you don't do anything, it's really no big deal. Nothing was planned in the first place.
Yeah. So yeah, I look first off those goals. Watts taught me this: when you have goals, make them attain or quantitative, like something that can actually you can prove that you achieved. Like you see people all the time with New Year's resolution. Oh, I want to be a better person, or I want to help more people. All right, how am I going to measure if I'm becoming a better person? You really can't. You have to, if you want to be a better person, all right, how are you going to become this better person? Oh, I'm going to volunteer 3 times a month or something, like whatever. Like you have to have quantitative goals that are like you can truly put down, did you achieve this? Because I hate when people are like, oh, I achieved my goal. Okay, how do you know if you really achieved it? That bothers me because and that's why I also won't set a goal unless I can truly measure it, because it bothers me. Oh yeah, I can say I reached it, but deep down we know if we reached it. And I know I don't like lying, saying, oh yeah, I reached my goal, and then sitting there going, no, I didn't. Like I'm not at all where I wanted to be. But so you have a lot of different things that you have, goals for. You got or have your focus on. You got football, you got the gym, you got YouTube, school, life in general. How does someone balance all that? Balance all that focus? You could focus solely on your career and be pretty damn good at one thing, but you lose out on that family life. Like if you're talking job sense and fun times and improving yourself in the gym or as a father mentally, whatever it is, if you just focus solely on your career. So how would you recommend, like, how do you balance all that?
Well, I think the important thing to remember is that each thing you do, something bleeds in from that. If you're talking about, I'm doing the football right now. You're doing the football, but then you're also getting that toughness that you could carry over to, your work or whatever. You're doing your work, and then you also get something from that that'll help you in the gym, and then, something from that that helps you with the family life. So I think people might look at something like, you know, I need to focus up. I'm doing too many things. I might need to cut some stuff out. But I think the more you do, the more well-rounded you become, the more dangerous you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I always appreciate my dad teaching me is, becoming sort of like a renaissance man where you got so many different skills. So, anything that's needed, even just a conversation, you're talking to someone, you're an interesting guy, so many different things, and that's really how you're useful as a person, and that's how you get out there like, oh, this guy could do that, that, and that. Obviously someone's going to look at you and say, we need this guy, he's valuable.
Yeah, I'd rather. I've always said for a long since I was in high school, I'd rather know a little about a lot than a lot about a little. Like I'd rather be broad and know a lot of different kind of things. I'm never going to claim to be an expert in this or that, because I mean at the point in my life I'm not an expert in anything. And I think that was one thing I was taught in high school through my whole job. Until you admit that you don't know shit, like you're going to sit there and lie to yourself. None of us know everything. Most of us don't know shit. Like we really don't know as much as we think we do, and that's okay. But that's the big thing, is trying to learn a little bit about everything. I even if it's something I don't like, I still try. And like, you could one of my professors taught me this, and he was like, I read both sides of the political script, like stuff. And like, I know what side I am, I know where I vote, whatever, like not trying to be political, but like he's like, I look at both sides because both sides have a story. If you're reading or looking at one side of things, or if you're focusing just on one thing, like you're going to become that. And that's just like, that's where like we have all these political arguments, is because people only see the one side. it is
Mhm.
important to always see both sides. And that could go with a lot of different things, not just political wise. And it's very important just to like, expand your horizons and read things, or look at things, watch videos on things that may not necessarily be your cup of tea, but it's going to help improve you and expand your horizon.
Yeah.
But
Also, how much more dangerous do you become if you know someone's point of view and argument more than they do?
mhm,
Right there, you could argue their point better than they can.
yeah,
You could get inside their head. You know exactly what they're thinking just because you've done that research and you went there, and maybe it wasn't what you thought, but now it helps strengthen whatever your point was.
well, it almost it creates your counterattack, like where you're sitting there and you're like, all right, I know you're about to say this, so I'm gonna take that question or that whatever argument that you're about to say, I'm gonna like attack it before you even say it because I know it's coming. I know
Yeah,
you're about to say, oh, Trump mean tweets, whatever. Like you attack it before they even say it. It just all of a sudden they're going, shit, what do I say now?
yeah.
But so you recommend learning a lot of different things. How do you go about doing that? I guess like what because I personally I read a lot now. What is your way of trying to expand your knowledge?
Yeah, I think reading's great, especially because there's so many different like topics you could go into. Also just not being afraid to try out something new. You don't have to try out something new and then it becomes, a lifelong commitment where you're doing it, 12 hours every day. Like the other day, I went out and I played a little tennis with my brother and dad. And I was like, hey, this is good, exercise for quickness. Maybe I do this more often now. So you just do something like that, and who knows, maybe it doesn't stick, or maybe you end up saying, I'm going to do this more often.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like trying out a new restaurant. You may find the best restaurant you ever had, like even if it's or best your favorite restaurant, because it may not be the food you like necessarily, but you never know until you try. That's the thing. People are always like, that's like the whole step out of your comfort zone. Too many people get stuck in their comfort zone and just like literally get stuck there to the point where they don't know anything else because they won't try anything else. You don't know what you're missing until you actually try things. Like that, I've never been afraid to try food. I will tell you that. And don't be. Like I understand if you have allergies, whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. But like if you don't, like just try it. You never know. If you don't like it, guess what? You move on with your day. It's not like you're gonna die. It's all right. But the biggest thing is stepping out of your comfort zone and just taking that chance, like taking the big risk. It's not that big of a risk once you actually do it. But 3 questions. I ask all my guests these questions. First one, or what are the goals? Because you've discussed goals. So what are the overall goals of Sam Hire going forward?
I actually did a video on this, and I talked about
Which video is it so people want to go watch it?
off-season goals is the
Okay.
title.
Oh, yeah. I did not finish that video, I will say, but I did start this video.
And one of the main ones was 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I talked about sharing it more, improving on the quality of content. I'm currently at about 130, so I do have some ways to go. But that is
Everybody
one of my
listening, if you go follow Sam or Showtime, the Real Showtime on YouTube, or subscribe to the Real Showtime on YouTube, and then you are following me and message me, I will put you in for an entry of a free t-shirt. So everybody listening, if you want a free t-shirt, you have to go subscribe to Sam Hire or the Real Showtime, subscribe to his YouTube channel. Be sure to be following me on Instagram, message me, and I will put you down for an entry. This only lasts until, hold on, I gotta look at a date. I'm literally coming up with this on the spot, just trying to help you out. So this episode comes out the 22nd. This will last until the end of the month. So you have until the 31st to enter. So there we go.
But yeah, I got the YouTube goal, and then I came up with speed goals, trying to improve my 40 time, then strength goals. So a couple good, well-rounded, and then personally also some academic goals. The 4.0 is kind of
Don't slack on those. I tell you, once you dig yourself in a hole, it's very hard to get back out.
Yeah. So kind of trying to come up with, goals that cover all the territories. And I feel like Owu does do a great job of with the football. Like, you know, all the coaches always saying, don't forget the grades. This is important. This is the future.
That's why we got to turn in those truth statements every week.
Yeah. The truth statements are so annoying, but they have a good purpose.
I tell you what, though, those true statements do keep me on track of like where my grades are. Because like I
Yeah.
remember freshman year, I was like, I don't know what my grade is, and then I did my true statement that week, and I was like, oh, well, hey, no, I got this. Oh, I got this grade back. I didn't even know that grade was in the grade book. Like
Yeah.
it is crazy what it does because it forces you to actually look at your grades and like pay attention to them.
Good little wake up call. Midway through the semester, like, oh, this is where I'm at. I probably got to do a little more work here.
Oh, the worst part's when you got to put one of your bad grades on there because then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I really don't want to admit that I have a D plus in this class right now. But so another one that I always go with is who is the biggest inspiration in your life?
Oh, definitely my father, hands down. And I know my mom's gonna be watching this, so she might have something to say about that. But I think my father's work ethic, like 24/7. If he's not working, he's studying something. He's always he's not like sitting around watch TV. He's a guy who's constantly grinding. He also loves to work out. For a long time, I think until the summer of my junior year, that's the first time I finally passed him in strength. But he's someone I could look towards, for the fitness aspect, the work aspect, the family aspect. He loves spending time with his kids. Definitely all around, motivation. I think he's the guy to go to.
Has he made an appearance on your YouTube channel yet?
A brief appearance, a very brief
I
appearance.
think I'm just saying, here's an idea. It's already passed, but if you're still doing this in the near future, you get that Father's Day episode in.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what I used to try and work those in that way. That was my part of my gift to them is, hey, you get to be on the internet.
Yeah.
My dad hated that though. But
the funny thing about my dad is he would enjoy that. He actually does improv classes in Chicago. I don't know if anyone who's listening knows about Chicago or Second City or anything like that, but he actually does improv classes there. So he's not afraid to have a stage presence or joke around or anything like that. And I think that's probably where I get it from.
that makes sense, and that's very beneficial in the content creator world. But another one, my favorite one that I like to ask is if you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing, what would it be?
The thing about these go back in time questions, I always say, I wouldn't change anything just because I feel like, the place I'm at right now, everything I did, all the things I fucked up on, which are a ton. I made tons of mistakes. It's all created me to be, the person I'm right now. And I'm confident in the position I'm at. And I think, I'm at a position right now where, my future goals are, to change the world. And I think I'm slowly, working towards that every day.
I like that. The whole change the world thing. I think there was a quote that was said in one of my business classes one time. It was this guy who was talking about, he said, I want to be a millionaire. And the people in the audience laughed at him because, he was making these things for third world countries, like in living in a third world country and stuff. And he goes, I don't want to be a millionaire in terms of money. I want to be a millionaire in terms of how many lives I can impact. And like, that is deep. That's truly more important than making money. Do I want to make money? Yes. Everybody wants to make money. That is part of our goal in life in a way. But like, don't be trying. I think too many people get caught up in making the money that they forget about the others. They forget about the people that helped them get there and stuff like that. It's okay to, not make a lot of money. I told one of my buddies one time, I think it was Teddy actually, I told him, I said, I don't really want to make a crap load of money. Like, I don't want to be like crazy rich. Do I want to make good money? Yes. I don't want to be like, because that's just not my lifestyle. That's not how I am. Like, I'm a big freaking country kid. Like, I'm going to live in a house with a lot of land and not people around me. Like, this is how I grew up. It's how I am. And everybody has their own way, and that's okay. but like I don't want to make a lot of money, a crap load of money. I do want to make a good amount of money. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't want to.
When I talk about like wanting to be a filmmaker, it's, not like, oh, I want to go out, live the celebrity lifestyle, go to like parties and stuff. I want to go out there and I want to, create my art. And that's what it's really about. I think that's the stuff with guys like us who are creating content. There's going to be a point in time where it's like, do you cash out here? Do you kind of sell out, or, do you like stay on track and it becomes, more of your vision?
Mm-hmm. That's one of the hard parts about it. But this leads us into the best segment of the podcast. And if you disagree, then get out. That's all I got to say. This is time. It is time for Motivation Monday on a Thursday. Motivation Monday or Thursday, whatever you want to call it, is where I like to allow my guests to give the Roughneck listeners a little inspirational bump to set the tone for their week as they listen on Monday or Thursday morning. So what does Sam Showtime Hire have for Motivation Monday, aka Thursday?
I do have a good one. I think this spills in with what we're saying. No matter what age you are, you have something you want to do, you have something on your mind, even if you think you just want to test it out. Who gives a fuck what anyone else thinks? They could go fuck themselves. Do your thing. Who knows? Every single human has great potential in this world. And I believe God gave every single person, a certain thing they could reach. So you might as well go all out, try to find that passion, try to find that purpose. Who cares if you get some comments? Who cares if you fail? You could literally go bankrupt. You could lose everything. Just restart. Just keep on heading back in. Life's only so short. Say, I'm being generous here. You got 100 years to live. You waste 1 year, that's 1% of your life you just wasted. You waste 5 years, that's 5% of your life. You waste a decade, that's 10% of your life. You don't have time to waste. You might as well say, you know what, I want to do this. I don't care what anyone else is telling me. Maybe the people telling you not to do it are, family, friends. I think that's a big thing. Sometimes, they tell you, hey, don't do this. It isn't going to work out. If in your mind you think it's going to work out and you want to do that, you might have to tell them, fuck it. I'm going to go out. I'm going to do what I want to do. Maybe you don't approve of it, but I do. So that's what I'm going to do.
That's the thing too. You know what the most rewarding thing is when those people tell you no and you do it anyway, and then it works. You don't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
You just look at them. Because then they're sitting there going, huh. Because like I'm sure you had people telling you, because I told you, I said YouTube is like I would not recommend YouTube. And now look at you, like it's okay. Like don't listen to those people. The biggest enemy though is ourselves, because that is where the biggest amount of doubt's going to come from. That's where we're going to be our biggest critics. Because I'm sure you're just like me. I've had episodes come out and people are like, oh dude, that was a sweet episode. And I'm like, yeah, but this, like I find all the little things that bother me. But like, take that step. Don't worry about what the hell other people think. That is the biggest problem in today's world right now, is worrying about what other people think. At the end of the day, they aren't you. Be yourself. Put blue in your hair. Start a YouTube channel. Do whatever the hell you want to do, because at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter what they think. Go be yourself, and trust me, it'll be better in the long run. Because once I started finally just, I don't care what people think. We all do care what people think. We're not going to sit here and lie and say we don't give a shit about anything. We care, but you have to limit that care. You can't sit here and base your life completely off of what other people think. But that's some good shit. I really like that Motivation Monday. You had some passion behind it, which I like when people put passion behind their Motivation Monday. And that's a wrap on episode 44 of the Roughnecks podcast. Gotta ask, we gonna see any Showtime merch in the future?
I am hoping. I think once I get a little more of a following, I am gonna put some stuff out there. One of my friends is actually really into, graphic design and stuff like that. So I've been working with him, try to get a logo out there. I think I want to incorporate kind of the acting and drama element too, along with the fitness.
Just saying. I can get you a few hookups if you get merch this year, because I got a few at school that, people that are making my stuff, but I'm about to move in a different direction because I'll make the announcement. I'm not working on it. Somebody else is working on a website to where you guys will be able to purchase merch straight off the website. It'll ship to you. So I don't have to do all of everything with all the delivering and ordering and everything. It'll just be so much easier. But if you have not already, subscribe to this channel on YouTube. Subscribe if you're listening in the podcast form. Give it a like, give it a view. I don't care what you do. Just interact with the video. Then go over to the Real Showtime channel and subscribe. Like I said, if you subscribe and you follow me on Instagram, you message me, you're entered to win a free t-shirt. I will give out a free t-shirt at the end of the month. But where can people find you on social media? And you already said the Real Showtime is the YouTube channel. So, but where can people find you on social media?
The Instagram is the real .showtime. The Real Showtime was already taken, so you gotta put that dot in there. TikTok is also the Real Showtime, just like the YouTube. And then Twitter, which I'm not as active on. Usually it's just me liking stuff. It's TH, no E in the, and then Real Showtime.
Go give him a subscription. Go follow, like his stuff. Watch a video, put a comment on it, say Roughnecks Podcast sent me, so that way he knows that we're getting followers from the Roughnecks Podcast. You might even get to see him in a Roughnecks Podcast shirt every once in a while on that channel. There was a point. He's actually, I think you created the first ever Roughnecks sleeveless. I've never seen a sleeveless. I've never seen anybody do it, so I might have to just start making them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of Roughnecks shirts, I want to again thank everybody who made a purchase in the mini sale. It was only a handful of shirts, but I really do appreciate it. That all goes towards improving this podcast. So if you or someone what I was going to say is I am looking for a new design for the fall sale. So if you or someone you know can design a shirt well, let me know. Send it to me, and if I like it, I'll tell you what, I'll go with it, and then I'll send you a free shirt. You'll get that shirt along with the other two designs of shirts that I have in short sleeve shirts. Sweatshirts should be coming soon, possibly. And then also, I still have koozies and a handful of koozies left, and wristbands if you would like them. I believe I have 2 flags left. If anybody wants any of that, you can purchase that at any time. It does not have to be through the sale. But that's all I got this week. Tune in Monday for the final episode of July. I had to think about what month it is. The final episode of July. And it's going to be with a MMA fighter who's a pretty cool guy and kind of a badass, just saying. Not sure if, hopefully that should come out on Monday. But like you always know the deal with this podcast. We have the slogan of grab the bull by the horns. Life is hard and will knock you down like a bull will. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Until next week, Roughnecks out. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and then also subscribe to the Roughnecks YouTube channel. If you want to be a guest or have a guest that you would like to hear from, then shoot me an email at roughneckspodcast@gmail.com or message me on social media on Instagram at roughneckspodcast or Twitter at roughneckspod, C1, or Facebook at roughneckspodcast. Life is hard and will knock you down like a bull. Don't lay there and let it run you over. Get up, grab the bull by the horns, and take control of your life. Till next week, Roughnecks out.
Oh, thank you.